it's Jordan, and this week our theme is all about the wonderful thing that is coming out. Personally, I don't have a lot of experience coming out because I'm still not out to my family, but I do have quite a few friends that I have come out to. So basically what happened for me was that I've grown up in a very conservative household, so I wasn't really exposed to a lot of the LGBT community, so I didn't really know a lot about it. When I was about 13, 14 years old, I started reading up on this stuff through social media and the internet and just finding out about it, and I thought it was really interesting, but I still thought I was straight and cis. Then one day I came across the whole umbrella that is asexuality, and I delved into the subsections of asexuality and found stuff like demisexuality and gray asexual. And after reading especially into demisexuality, I found that really stuck with me and that actually made a lot of sense for me. And so I started identifying as demisexual, and I still do today. That was my first experience as stepping away from being the heterosexual person I'd always been. And so I was a little nervous at first about it since I had been straight my entire life. So coming out was a little nerve-wracking for me. But eventually I did manage to tell a good friend of mine at the time, and she was very supportive and she thought that was good, and she was just very helpful with it. And so eventually I came out to a larger friend group, and everyone was very accepting. It wasn't even like a big deal. They were just like, oh, cool, because really the rest of my friends aren't straight except for one of them. And so that felt really good. I made the mistake of telling my mom at one point when she was picking me up from swim practice one time. And at the time, I had identified with being hetero-romantic. So I told her I was still attracted to the opposite gender. I just didn't feel sexually attracted to anyone. And I don't know why she reacted like this, because it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but she told me that it was weird and I shouldn't tell people. So that's when I decided that if I ever discovered anything else about my sexuality and or gender, I just couldn't tell her, or basically anyone else in my family, because I knew they would have the same opinions as her. And I've really only come out to one other person in my family, and that's my younger sister, because she's very understanding and very close with me. So since I've discovered I was demisexual, I was fine with identifying with just that for a while and also identifying as cis. But I'd always been questioning my gender just a little bit because I'd always presented very masculine, and I never thought that would, I always thought I was still a girl and that it wouldn't really affect anything, and I was just a masculine girl. But I came across different genders one day in my random researching, and found that there were so many genders besides just boy and girl and trans boy and trans girl, and I had no idea, and it was like a revelation to find out that there were so many different genders. And so I did come across the term gender fluid at one point, and that was I was like, that's cool, but I don't really know if that's me, because I think I'm still a girl. But I would have days when I would flip-flop. One day I even found a binder tutorial on how to make your own, and I tried it out, and I kind of sat in my binder all day and even tucked my hair when it was longer into a beanie, because I loved looking like a guy so much that day, and I just felt like a man. And so after this happened a couple times, and days would wake up and be like, I'm not a girl, but I'm not a boy, or I kind of feel like both, I actually did think about identifying as gender fluid. And then I went and asked one of my friends about it and told them about it, and I was so nervous because this was even bigger for me than the whole demisexual thing. I'm not really sure why. I think it was just because gender is a huge part of identity, even more so I believe than sexuality, because it determines your pronouns and your name, and it just helps you set your life around it. But he was so supportive and so helpful in helping me realize this identity, And ever since then, I've been very, very comfortable identifying as gender fluid, even more so when I identified as a cis girl. So since I've realized my sexuality and my gender, and even more recently my romantic orientation, for me, coming out has really been very simple. I just it more happens in passing for me than anything else, because people will just kind of be talking around me, and I just slip something in about being queer, and everyone's like, well, I get two different reactions. Normally when it's about just being queer, people are like, oh, okay, but sometimes when I'm like, I'm not a girl, people are just kind of go, what? One time, I was at rehearsals for our school play, and the backstage crew, which I was part of, was having like a little dance party before open house because we always played music, and there was a group of us just in a little circle, kind of just having fun, and there were me, 4 girls, and this one guy, and while we were dancing, the guy yelled, "I'm the only boy in this group," and I just kind of went, hey, that's what you think, and just kept dancing, and everyone just kind of stopped and looked at me and went, and I was like, great, okay, and I just kind of walked away. When I came back, one of the girls that I had already explained my gender to was trying to explain it to him. She did a pretty good job. I had to cut in when she called my boyfriend trans because he's not, but otherwise it wasn't that bad. It was just, I find that sometimes my comments aren't always necessary when it comes to that. But yeah, for me, coming out is more just very simple. It kind of sneaks in there for me especially on people my own age. But when it comes to people in my family, I have to be very careful about it because I really can't come out to anyone in my family except for like the people I know will be accepting, which is so far just my little sister. I suppose sometime down the line I would be able to tell my little brother, but he's too young to really grasp the whole concept of this all. He's 11 years old and still this all goes over his head, so maybe sometime in the future, but I'm not really sure. However, if you are someone who wants to come out, the advice I would give to you is that you have to be comfortable in your own shoes, and also comfortable with the people you're coming out with. If you are planning on coming out to your family, I would really suggest that your family would have some sort of a positive reaction. If you feel like if you have any sort of doubt in your mind that you will get kicked out of your house or neglected or abused just because of your sexuality or gender, please stay safe and do not come out to your family. I know it's very hard, but I would rather you'd stay in the closet than come out and be hurt because of it. However, if you know your family will be accepting in some sort of way, I encourage you to come out, and there's lots of different ways to come out. You can be straightforward and have a discussion with them. You can write an email, write an actual letter. There are people who go all out for it and make up creative ways, but I have none of those because I was always a very straightforward person and just like to talk about it. If you plan on coming out to your friends, however, I feel like that's a little bit easier because friend groups tend to be more accepting of the people within them. But there is the chance that you might have a friend who is homophobic or transphobic or just not accepting. And again, I would not encourage you to come out to them unless you know there's a way you can make them come around to it. The advice I would really like to give when it comes to coming out is think about your safety first and your mental health. If it's going to affect you very negatively to come out to people, I would not suggest coming out. But if you know that it's going to be good for you in the long run and that people will be accepting, then by all means come out, because being out is very, very liberating. If I was not out to my friends, I don't know what I would do with my life, because it would be so stressful having to keep this a secret from everyone and not just my family. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any other advice for people planning on coming out, please leave a comment down below, because I am not the best spout of advice for this, since I don't have a ton of experience coming out to people. If you like this video, please like it and think about hitting that subscribe button. I'll see you here next week.